I receive questions all the time, but I prefer to give those who are present a preference in terms of the questions. If not, like I said, I have a number of questions that people do ask me. No. So the question I actually received, one of the brothers, he said that the government is giving PPP loans, or the Payment Protection Plan loans. Is it permissible for me to take this loan? This loan is very unique in light of the other types of loans that are available. And basically the idea behind the loan is that if you prove and if you show that you used it toward your business and you're able to reimburse your employees, there will be a slight amount of interest that is charged regardless, even if they give you the grant afterward. But basically what happens is that you are given a grant in place of that. So basically the money that you take, if they reimburse you like $20,000 or $30,000 or whatever the amount might be, is they take an insignificant amount from that. But if you prove to them after a year that you actually used it toward your business, then they forgive the loan and it turns into a grant. So he asked me if this is permissible. And I said, well, there are different viewpoints concerning this issue. The first of them is someone said that if there is any interest involved in this, then it is haram. And that's where they stand. They said it's not permissible to take the loan. I know many organizations and many institutions and many businesses that did not take advantage of this loan for this reason. Some said that, okay, the interest that is involved is so small and it's so insignificant versus the number of employees that you'll actually lose if you don't take advantage of this. Because there is a need to maintain your business and because there is a need to maintain your employees, it is permissible to take this in light of the small amount. And that small amount of interest that is paid on it, it is insignificant enough to overlook in this if you look at the maslaha or if you look at the pros and cons concerning this issue, and that's why it's not a problem. And then a third group of people will say that the reason that it is okay to take this loan is because the interest is insignificant. It is not enough to actually be considered that you're giving back more than what you are taking. And again, a lot of these factors that play in have to do with how to determine the inflation and how much money it is that you're taking from that. I know that there are some counter arguments saying that inflation now is significantly higher than it has been in the past. So right now we're almost at about 8% inflation, but in the previous years it's been closer to about 3 or 4%. So they say that, okay, well there are cases where the loan is higher than that. Well, in that case it wouldn't be permissible. There are a number of other factors that do come into play also when it comes to taking business loans. I've had a number of people also ask me about that, saying that, okay, well since the rates are lower now, is it permissible for me to take a business loan to open a business? And my response to them is like, okay, even if you take that viewpoint, I personally don't see it to be permissible. And the reason is about 70% of new businesses fail. And min bab sadd al-dhari'a, closing the door because you will default and you will fail, and the percentage is so high in that, I don't think that's permissible. So when it comes to wealth creation, meaning that I'm starting at zero and now I'm trying to start a business or begin a business, for this person I would say no. So many people will say, okay, what is the alternative? What do I do? You need to look for partners, right? You have to look for business partners, you have to build a portfolio, you have to start small. It takes a lot of work, and I understand that. It's not easy, but life isn't easy, and anything that we do, we have to work for it, and we have to make an effort for it. The other level to it is wealth preservation, right? So wealth creation, we said that no, but wealth preservation is somebody who is already successful. So if somebody is successful, what happens for this person is that many times they'll take business loans to expand their existing business. And how do they do that? They will do it by taking their current assets. So if they're landowners, if they're stock owners, if they own businesses, they will take those businesses and they'll present them to the bank and say, we want to present this as collateral. Can you give us money based on the collateral for this? And they'll give you an extremely low interest rate. And some people say, well, there's interest in this, you can't do that. So then the follow-up question is, okay, I have a choice at this point. If I take loans against the assets that I have and the business that I have a choice. At the end of the year, I can write that off. I can write that debt off toward the federal government, in addition to paying a lower tax rate. And if I don't take that loan and I just use my cash, I'm going to be paying more taxes. So I have a choice. Either I'm going to give the money to the bank or I'm going to give it to the federal government. In this situation, what do I do? And this is a valid question. In this situation, what I do? For those people that say taking any type of interest is haram, it's very easy. For them, they'll say it doesn't matter what the situation is, I will pay the federal government. For those individuals who say, no, we have to look at the maslaha here. if my money is going to two institutions that I don't trust, and I'm not here to say who's evil, who's not evil, that's not the point. If the money's not going to me, I don't trust that institution, unless I'm giving it to tabarru'an, unless I'm donating it. But I'm pretty sure there's nobody here who wants to donate their money to the bank or to the federal government, unless there is. Is there anyone here who likes giving their money? No? Okay, alhamdulillah. So when I have this choice of either giving my money to the federal government or to the bank, in this situation, I would look and say, okay, which one am I giving? In which situation am I giving less money? So if I'm giving less money to the federal government, I will give my money to the federal government. If I'm giving less money to the banks, then I will give my money to the banks. But again, this is for people who are doing wealth preservation, people who already have established businesses, not for people who are creating or starting new businesses. If I'm in a position where I want to start a business, then I need to spread the risk around by getting people who are knowledgeable, people who have a skill set, people who know, so that I can get that business started, and I can start in that way by developing these partnerships. Once I have the skill set, once I have the knowledge, then I can start moving, and I'll have a portfolio that I can actually present, so I can make bigger purchases and make bigger deals. And this is one way of doing it. It's very important for us to understand how the tax system works. It's very important for us to understand how the business system works here. It's very important for us to understand how the banking system works, so that we can develop the Muslim financial institutions and understand how we can grow as a community. There are many times that many of us are stuck within the institution that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And if anyone has an alternative, then please present that alternative. There are people who are waiting to get involved in that. And it's very important. I can't tell people you can't do this and not give it an alternative for it. I can't tell people you can't make zina and then not give them a chance to get married. I can't tell people that you can't eat pork and then allow them to eat other types of meat. There's always going to be a substitute for these things, and it is our job as a community, as individuals, to help create those substitutes. Islam didn't come here to strangle anyone. It didn't. It came here to give us freedom. It came here to enlighten us. It came here to help us navigate every situation. And we understand Islam is salih li kulli makan wa li kulli zaman. The next question I received, I don't know if we'll have enough time for it, but was about the hijab. And the question was, okay, my daughter does not wear hijab. How do I encourage her to wear it? And you'll have two groups of answers for this, or two types of people who will answer this question. One will say, okay, it is modesty, and because it is a sign of modesty, you have to wear the hijab due to that. And that's valid for the people who believe that, and that's a reasonable answer for some people. Other people will say, okay, well, and depending on the madhab obviously, but if the slave does not have to wear hijab, and if the non-Muslim doesn't have to wear hijab, how can it be a sign of modesty? Does this mean that the Muslim slave woman cannot be modest? And again, it's a valid question. Yeah, well, obviously she can be. Even the non-Muslim, there are many non-Muslim women we will come across and we will deal with, and we will feel that they are dressed modestly. Like we will feel that. We will feel that they're coming in and they're respecting the space and they're dressed modestly. In workspaces, we will feel that they're dressed modestly, and it doesn't have to do with the hijab. So the question then comes, okay, if it's not a sign of modesty, and if it's not taken to be a sign of modesty, then what is it? What is the purpose? And this is the purpose. And wallahu alam, to show two things. To show, number one, that she's not a slave. She's a free woman. And secondly, to show that she's Muslim. It is a sign for these two things. If I, as a woman, want to show that I am both free, and subhanAllah, look how opposite this is to a lot of the Western ideas and the Western culture. To show that she is free, to show that she is not a slave, and to show that she is Muslim, then she will wear the hijab. And this is a sign of honor, it is a sign of dignity for her, and that is what it's meant to be. And Allah knows best. Like I said, these are usually the two sets of answers that people share or that I've heard with them. At the end of the day, if we are not raising our daughters to be modest, if we are not raising our sons to be modest, if we're not raising them on the hijab, I can't wait until she hits puberty. When she first has her period, and I tell her, hey, you need to wear hijab now. In some people it can work, in many cases it doesn't. There's a reason the Prophet ﷺ told us to encourage our daughters and to encourage our children to pray by 7. Because when they're 7, you start making our daughters wear hijab too, at least for the salawat. And then as time goes, as time progresses, they become more comfortable wearing the hijab. And the hijab is not just covering the hair, right? It's not just covering the hair. There are many hijabs that I've seen. It's like, okay, the way that you're wearing the hijab, I don't really care about your hair, right? That's the least of my concern, because I can see everything else. And this is something that's important to keep in mind, that modesty in how it's expressed and how it's shown, this is an Islamic concept and an Islamic model. It's not just a scarf that is put over the head, because it is possible for men to be modest, it is possible for women to be modest, it's possible for everyone to be modest. How that modesty is shown is going to be in different ways, and Allah knows best. Allahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala khayri khalqi nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله
حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح
لا حول ولا قوة.
الله